Okay, Woody, we have a quorum. Okay, with great. It is 5:32. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Let's see, item number 2, public comment. Raquel, do we have any public that would like to comment?
No, we do not.
Perfect. Item number 3, approval of prior minutes of the June 17th, 2024. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I will.
Great, thanks, Amanda.
Motion to approve the June 17th minutes.
Great, thank you.
I'll
Would anyone like to
second.
make a second? Woody makes a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Moving on to old business, none. Moving on to new business, architect's report. So Justin,
Good
you're up.
evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. You have 2 updates, weekly updates in your packet for today. I'll summarize them. There's nothing really major to report other than just a status update of the construction administration. In the last 2 weeks, we received 8 new construction RFIs for a total of 94 and 53 new submittals for a total of 281. So as has been reported in the last couple meetings, we are firmly in the crush of the submittal subcontractor submittal period. So we're working with Gilbane to make sure that we're addressing the ones that are critical to maintain schedule, etc. So we've been working pretty well, I think, between Gilbane and Colliers to address the hot items. We've conducted 6 meetings. These range from the weekly OAC meetings and BIM coordination meetings to specific layout or pre-construction meetings. Otherwise, I can report 2 weeks ago, Wednesday, we conducted our FF&E kickoff. So I think that kind of set the table for the upcoming round of meetings to make sure that we're going through the FF&E selection, etc. So we more or less established the baseline. Ben will make sure that you're also involved in those meeting invitations in the future. But other than that, not much to report.
Excellent, thank you. Moving on to the construction manager. Bob, you can take that one. You got some pictures. Hopefully steel nearing erection.
We do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Only one picture for today. Try to keep it a little short and sweet. But it is a good picture. So I will go over this in a minute, but just outside of the picture, we do have a new staff member on the team. So we brought in Zach Federowitz as a project engineer. He'll actually be replacing Brandon Thomas. But we do. So we still have Steve, Zach, Vinny, our super, and then myself on site full time. We also have our summer intern, Samantha Walters. So we're kind of a packed house in the trailer, but pushing through a lot of paperwork, trying to keep Justin and his team busy over there, trying to get material released. But the real excitement is if you look at the picture, we have a crane on site and we have steel. So a couple good things going on in this picture. Basically, we're close to substantially complete on foundations. This is lower area B. So this is the bottom. We're actually looking, if we were to cut these trees down, you'd be looking at Daniel Hand High School over. So to give you kind of an orientation of which way we're looking. And the photo was taken from right in the middle of the school. So Vinny, when he took this, is actually standing in area A. To his back would be Mungertown Road and that whole area A of the middle or the elementary school. So just starting off, we have about 2 trailers of steel here. They should be standing up columns. So this shot was taken about 2 o'clock today, but they are going through, and most of these pieces that arrived are columns. So they'll go through and start setting the pieces, the vertical pieces. So then we can start framing out the horizontal steel. They'll do a good section in this lower bottom area. And then what we'll do is we'll weld everything up as it needs to be, make sure everything's bolted properly. And then we'll be coming through with the decking. So you'll be able to start actually accessing this portion of the building once the decking is down and secure and the proper safety is in place. So just big picture over the next month, what we'll do is we'll finish up the foundations in area A. We'll actually complete the underground for area A, which we just passed our first inspection on 2 of the plumbing systems last week. So we'll finish up the additional plumbing systems, pass inspection on those, finish the foundations, and then we'll be doing slab on grade for that area A by the end of the month. I think we're going to break it in probably 2 placements, and our first placement's targeted for July 23rd. The second one will probably right around July 31st. About a week later after the second one. And then by then, we should have a good amount of the steel in the lower area, and we'll be able to start having decking in place and start accessing the bottom section of area B. Another nice little thing to point out is just this excavator. He's actually backfilling for the ramp in that raised music room. So although you kind of see the steel in the shiny crane, there's some good things going on still down in lower B. That'll save us some time. It's a lot more productive to do it with the excavator before steel is in than trying to go in there with smaller machines. So we're trying to be efficient as possible where we can. Any questions?
So all that rain we had there over the weekend looks like it didn't drain. It drained well. I don't see any standing water or any kind of ponding anywhere.
Yep, we've been having good luck with the rain. It's been staying on site. The water's been manageable, which is key, and then also it dries up pretty quickly.
Excellent. Any other questions?
All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to OPM update, Colliers. Adam, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. Just to kind of echo what Bob was saying on the steel, this was one of the key milestones that we were looking at just in the trailer and kind of projecting forward is when can you start steel? When can you start that sequence of events? So starting today is exactly what Gilbane was projecting and what we were tracking to. So that's great. And we'll be, looking forward and getting through all the structural components and start working into, topping out of steel is obviously another big milestone, and we'll be working with the town on a potential ceremony for that. But by and large, it's a lot of getting the bones of the building up and trying to shoot towards, enclosure as we get in towards the winter months, so that way interior work can begin while the cold and snow is around us. So we're sort of in phase 2, if you will, starting up today as in terms of the overall construction. So it's been great work all the way around, and everyone's been moving quickly, addressing questions quickly, addressing issues that come up quickly, and nothing has been too crazy. So good work all the way around for the project team there. In terms,
Adam mentioned the topping off. You have an approximate date. I know sometimes it take a while to get the right people in the room. But when do you have a rough idea when that would be?
we had if you know offhand, Rob, otherwise I can quickly search the email that we had sent over to Zoe the other day.
Yeah, I think we were looking sometime mid-August.
Okay.
I actually have to follow up with United. We're trying to pick the right beam to then be able to bring to the school, and then see if we can arrange for some students to sign that.
Yeah, exactly. Got it. Okay, sorry for interrupting, Adam. The priorities.
that's perfect.
Gotta keep the politicians happy. They're bringing the money.
Unsurprisingly, Zoe is on top of it and
Yeah.
working with us to get it all scheduled. So it's been going well.
Beautiful.
Other sort of tidbits, a lot of focus has been on some of these change orders and RFIs, as kind of Justin and Rob alluded to. We are prepping the first state change order, which is basically taking all of the changes and compiling them and submitting them to the Office of Grants Administration as part of the standard process for confirming any new changes, whether they're reimbursable, not reimbursable. So that's something that the project team's working on. It should be wrapping up here the next couple weeks. In terms of some other items, coordinating with Eversource and the fiber vendor. that work ultimately will have to get brought in and service provided to the IT rooms as part of the final networking. So you look to the end of the job, you want your final network in place, you want to be running all your systems off of it. You got to start planning that back to when you actually need the fiber run into the building, and that's something that the town does. So that's what Colliers has been working with Hartsickle and Crown Castle and Eversource to get that lined up. Over the next week or two, we'll be working with the next macro schedule update from Gilbane to kind of do some additional planning, the IDF and BDF IT rooms, like I just mentioned, but also working through some of the furniture design components. So as we're meeting with school administration and picking pieces and making selections, if the building is far enough along, and potentially scheduling some site visits to kind of look inside, this room or that room to see, okay, if this desk will work, if this space makes sense. The front office, everyone sees it on paper, it looks great, makes sense, and then you get to it in real life, and it's a little different than what you thought. So trying to marry up some of those design decisions and design meetings as much as possible with the construction work to make sure everyone's happy. So that's some things we're focused on for the next couple of weeks, is setting some of those projected milestone dates over the coming months. I will be issuing here shortly an update on financials to the school building committee offline. You've seen it before, but just a quick update to kind of give you a sense of where we're at with owner contingency and things of that nature. There are some ETPs on the docket for this evening. Some good ones that will close out some of the soil off hauling for to the facility that needed to take the tested soil. But there's a few that are coming down the pipe that are larger that I'll explain when I send to the group. Some are just driven based off of Eversource requirements or things of that nature, and some of them are some owner selections. So, for example, on the docket for tonight is a change order, which I'll show here shortly, to adjust some of the toilet fixtures and heights and plumbing based on some of the Peter brought it up as a good catch for thinking about the end use of the building and actual teachers and dealing with little kids and bigger kids, how to make sure that the fixture heights align with those requirements. In a similar vein, not for tonight, but at a future meeting, we'll have a change order for adding additional cubbies to some of the pre-K rooms, again, as part of some of the flexibility considerations with the school administration. So that's something that Colliers is tracking and working with Gilbane and Pecton to wrap up not only some of the discovered things that we have to fix in the field, something come up in the dirt, you have no choice, you have to address it, as well as some of the owner requests, which have not been too numerous at this point, but we still track them as we hear about them and bring it up to the school building committee. So all good stuff coming down the pipe. Look out for my email here shortly about the financials update.
Great. Moving on to item 5. Where do we have some items to vote on?
We do. All right, so I'll share my screen here. All right, the first is ATP 14 in the amount of 27,100. This is the plumbing fixtures and accessories change that I just mentioned a moment ago. In short, this change order represents some of the work for changing the underground piping and fixture heights for pre-K rooms, and I believe there's also some of the kindergarten and first grade rooms to change the toilet heights from being a standard ADA height, like you would experience for any adult or whomever, down to child appropriate height for the grade levels. That was a discussion. We had 1 or 2 meetings about that with Peter and the principal and superintendent's office, as well as if there's an image on here, as well as some changes to the common space hand washing stations in the gang bathrooms, where they were previously just a standard height, and instead they're a multi-height fixture that comes at a bit of a premium, but it does allow for some of the younger students that are in these public areas to be able to not have as much issues trying to reach up to wash their hands on a taller fixture. Dustin, anything to add to that? Otherwise, I think that's the thrust of that change order.
No, I think with that were some, go ahead, Seth, I see you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can I just ask, is this a change order to impact the pricing of the plan that is belatedly taking into account the heights of the toilets for the kindergarten and first grade wings? Was that not planned for initially? Was that not in the initial pricing for the project?
Justin, I'll let you
So-
take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. The short answer is yes, it was reviewed originally during design and validated that at the time there would all of the toilet fixture heights and lavatory heights would be the same ADA height. The reason being that children are using those height fixtures at home as well. And it's 6 in one, half a dozen the other. Some districts appreciate lowering the plumbing fixture heights. Some appreciate standard ADA heights. As soon as so when we got into discussion about pre-construction, this came up and Peter rightfully questioned this. We had a number of, we had one particular meeting with the principal, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent. There were mixed opinions, but ultimately what prevailed was to provide age-appropriate plumbing fixture heights that mostly impacted underground plumbing. And we were able to catch this before it became more of a change order with restocking fees. So the premium that's part of this change order is the actual kind of first dollar cost. There's no rework that's involved. So credit, I guess, to the rest of the team for bringing it up well in advance. But the short answer is when we went through design and coordination during design, we had the elevations at one height, and there was a reconsideration when we started to get into construction.
I guess, like with most things, when you dig into it, there's more than meets the eye. And although it kind of sounds silly that, we didn't plan for the lower height toilets, that when you look at the fact that there's a legitimate concern as between ADA height and junior height, it makes sense. So thank you.
Yeah, there's also a thought that you limit some flexibility if you're only going to be able to, if you can't repurpose those rooms later on, if you want to turn them into something else, you're kind of locked into that kindergarten space. So there was, it was subjective whether, one way or the other to do it. But as you said, the key is to catch it before it becomes, built in. That we probably wouldn't have made that choice if it was already built at that point, obviously.
Yeah.
Any other questions on ATP 14? Okay, I'll reshare my screen here. We can go through all of them and then come back for potential motions per usual. ATP 17. This is for 59,824. Just to kind of look ahead a bit, ATP 17 and ATP 18 are the last two change orders related to the soils testing and the remedial soil off-hauling that we've been talking about for some time. So ATP 17 for just over 59,000. This is for not the off-hauling, but the additional moving of soil and rework associated with just pushing big piles of dirt around that weren't originally anticipated. To kind of simplify it, the project as bid, if you went out there, was a big grass field. And so the notion was that you get to do what you will with the dirt, and any dirt that has to come outside, you can scrape it off, put it in a truck, and take it right away. Because we had the soils that tested such that they needed to be off-hauled, they needed to be stockpiled, moved out of the way so the work can continue. So we're doing well on schedule. Some of that was because dirt got to get moved once and then got moved twice, in addition to some additional capping of soil that needed to occur per Langen's recommendations on managing the soils that were there. So again, as per usual, Gilbane, Tecton, Colliers have reviewed this and coordinated with Langen on the scope. And so this resolves the double handling, if you will, as sort of the generic scope for this particular change order. Its counterpart is the remaining, I think it's just over 100 yards or so. We can come down here. Yes, the last 180, 192 yards, if my math is right, of soil that was had brought to facilities. If you recall, there was an additional set of testing done by Langen because there was an estimated 5,000 yards, and there was a little bit beyond that that needed to be brought to the facility. So there were some additional tests, and this represents the remaining balance of the soil that was actually off-hauled. So this is the same type of scope as in the two ATPs that were previously approved last meeting and then a couple meetings before. And this wraps up the extent of that construction change directive 1 that we made for $600,000 at the very beginning of the project. This is the last change order related to that value. So all told, I think the off-hauling scope, we had 600,000, and the cost for the actual off-hauling itself was just under that at 500 and something thousand all told. And then this other ATP 17 for 59,000 is for the double handling work that was separate.
Any questions for Adam? I'm sure he's tired of explaining the dirty dirt questions. Sharon?
Yeah, did we stay underneath the 600,000 with that additional 59?
I think the additional 59 kicks it over. The 600,000 was, I can pull up the language, but that was just for the actual off-hauling itself, if memory
okay.
serves. So for what was approved, we did good on that. The estimate was good, and then this was just for the remaining additional. All told, the colloquial gut shot for this amount of work when we first started construction, before we had any, real testing done and whatnot, was either $750,000 or $1 million, is the sort of the rough budget thought that we were working with. So we're well under those values based on the work from subcontract Mizzy, Gilbane, Langen, etc. So reasonable result. Unfortunate that any money had to be spent, but insofar as risk is concerned, it was a pretty fair outcome.
Any other questions? If Adam would pull up, do you have any other change orders? Was that the anything else you want to go
Those
through?
are the 3 for this evening, so I can pull up motions if you'd like.
Do we have a candidate to read these make a motion?
Give it a go.
Got it. Thanks, George.
Motion to approve ATP 14 for a change to Gilbane's existing construction contract in the amount of $27,100 for owner requested changes to plumbing fixtures and toilet accessories per bulletin number 7.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it. Or doesn't matter.
Thanks, Sharon. You get that one? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Next motion, George, if you would.
All right. Motion to approve ATP 17 for a change to Gilbane's existing construction contract in the amount of $59,824 for soil handling scope changes due to discovered conditions and soil testing.
Do we have a second?
Sure.
Woody gets that one? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. George, bring us home here.
Sure. Motion to approve ATP 18 for a change to Gilbane's existing construction contract in the amount of $16,144 for soil excavation and hauling under the $600,000 limit previously approved via construction change directive number 1.
Do we have a second?
Sure.
Woody, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous.
All right. Well, if you'd like, I'll go to the invoice packet, which is the next item on the agenda. Can you see the invoice packet?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So this is sort of an interim packet. Typically, we try to do this at the end of the month to align with Gilbane's billing, but as you can see, there were a host of invoices that didn't time up well with last month's meeting schedule. So I wanted to keep the money flowing for some of the vendors here. So invoices for monthly invoice for Colliers, Langen, their monthly invoice for soil monitoring. I expect one more invoice from Langen to kind of wrap up their services. Nafis and Young, this is their first invoice for their stormwater monitoring. That's been going well. And Gilbane and the site contractor have been doing a good job of maintaining the site. Tecton's monthly invoice, and then 3 progress invoices for Tri-State for the material testing, soil testing, concrete cylinders, rebar testing, for a total of just over 87.
Thank you. Any questions? Oh, I do have a question. How's the lab budget going to compare to their budget, the project budget? Is that
So far, we're nothing crazy, nothing unexpected. The way that we have set up their purchase order is an initial authorization of, I believe, 50,000. We try not to share the ultimate upset budget too far and wide, just because it's a hourly not to exceed. But we give them initial pot of money on 50,000 and bill up to close to that, and then reauthorize as things progress. So far, no concerns.
got it? Okay, good. We're out of the ground and the soil's worth. So beautiful. Would anyone like to make a motion for this agenda item?
Sure, I'll do that.
Go Woody.
Motion to approve invoice packet dated 7/1/2024, including invoices from Colliers, Langen, Nafis and Young, Tecton, and Tri-State for a total approval of $87,187.51.
Got it. Adam, did you have a Colliers in there? I'm trying to think. You
We
were in
did.
there? You were okay.
We were in there.
Okay. Just double checking. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Hey, George? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Beautiful. Moving on, you're all set? You're all set, Adam? I think that's
That's it for me. Thank you all.
beautiful. Moving on to item number 7, public comments. Do we have any
No.
public?
No, we don't.
Great, thank you. Item number 8, remarks. Just like to say Bill has retired as of Friday, Bill McMinn, who did yeoman duty on this project and was instrumental in getting it going 7, 8, 10 years ago. So wish him well. He's going to be
Absolutely.
traveling the country in his Winnebago for the next 4 months. So we wish him well. I'm hoping to see some pictures of the Tetons and the Glacier National Park in the not too distant future. So, but he's got some people who I'm sure can step up and with Ben and Peter to carry us forward. So, any other remarks? Beautiful. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I will.
Adjourn, you're up. We have a second?
Sure.
Woody, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay, congratulations and great job, Gilbane, getting the steel going on the
Yeah.
day plan.
Yeah.
Have a nice 4th